Welcome to the Money Business Podcast. I'm Neal Regino.
I am Brian Weyman.
Today, I want to talk about businesses and growing from startup to the next level. So, um, there's a lot of sources out there, and the stats that it seems are about 1 in 20 new businesses get to $1 million in net revenue, and it's about 1% that make it to a $10 million valuation. So clearly there's something there that a lot higher of a number get to that $1 million mark, but very few ever make it to that $10 million place. And, with working with business owners and some of the things, and us being business owners ourselves, what do you think some of those things are that are stopping people from getting to the next level?
Well, for one, before I go to that, like 1 in 20 just hitting that $1 million mark. That $1 million isn't really that big of a number these days. So that's 19,
Yeah.
19 that don't, right? And then a million, let alone the 1% get to the 10. I mean, from the business owners that I work with, the ones that seem to continue to expand are the ones that are constantly focused more on the growth of the company and not just the everyday minutia they have to go through, right? So I think a lot of it is them having the right people to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I are business owners, right? It's the hardest part is getting the right people in the right places
Mm-hmm.
and keeping them there. Keeping the good ones happy, so to
Yep.
speak. We had a conversation about it already today. But the idea really is that, you know, to not, it's the same old adage you hear all the time. You spend too much time working in your business and not on your business, you're not really going to grow past that mark. And I think that's really everybody's problem. Um, I mean, I personally deal with it like you have to pay attention to it. You can't just get up and go to work if you're a business owner. You got to
Yep.
get up and understand what's the goal that you're trying to accomplish at that point. I think that's a big problem I see.
Yeah. Well, I will say on that first point, 1 in 20 getting to a million and a million not being a huge number. This is also leaving out the fact that majority of businesses don't make it past
True.
the
Yeah.
first 5
Well,
years.
that's why I was
So,
wondering if that stat
so,
was even like, are these people still in business or
yeah,
is this just ones that opened?
so look, the amount of businesses that open up every year is a staggering number, and the
A lot of
amount.
people have an LLC to nothing.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. That's part of it too. But
Yep.
there are plenty that go out there with the intent of making money and just don't actually do it. So,
Yeah, I get it.
so I don't want to take away from anybody who's making $1 million a year. That's great. And I remember a family business in my family when they hit their first million. That was a big deal. And so I don't want to take away from that. But the other side, the working in your business and not on your business, I think that it's always starts for me when I talk to business owners and myself is what's the vision? Where do you want to get to? And a lot of business owners don't actually take the time to think about where they want to actually take this. They're just thinking about the day to day and not ever thinking, I want it to get to 10 million or I want it to be 50 million and what's the time frame that you want that in. So I think that's the first part is taking that step back and knowing where you want to be. The second thing that goes along with that is, when you're an owner, you're doing everything when you start the business. You're handling literally everything. And you get really good at certain things and become specialists at certain things, and you don't want to give it up, right? You have a hard time with control, and I know in our industry that's a big issue.
Yeah.
Where if you're an advisor and you're really competent, you don't think anybody can do the job like you can. So,
Because it can't.
yeah, right. So, yeah, I know for me that was a big part of my growth was bringing people in and giving up some control so that I could expand and could be more economical. Um, there's so many owners that I see that are 20, 30 years into their business and they've gotten to a certain point and then became flat because they're still doing the same thing that they were doing that got them to that $1 million and don't realize the growth that needs to happen to get to that 10 million. So, I've said it on other podcasts is the ultimate goal if you want to increase the value of your company has to be at some point that the company's on autopilot, whether you show up or not.
Yep.
So, What else do you think stands in the way of that growth?
I think most people need to focus also. I mean, everybody's got an accountant, bookkeeper, maybe an advisor, HR department person running their health insurance or their 401k plans, all that stuff. I personally think that business owner has to do more focus on the return of investment on everything they're spending their money on. And I mean everything, even people. Like, is that person worth what I'm spending on that person?
Yeah.
Are they making my life easier? Are they helping my business grow? Or are they just basically doing something that I could get anybody to do for less? Which is not that you want to take a job away from somebody, but my point is I really think you got to break down everywhere your money is being spent and what the return on investment on those dollars are. Because if you could be using them somewhere else to help expand, obviously it's going to help your business grow. It's going to make you stronger. It's going to make things just make things better.
Yeah.
And then you get to the point, like you mentioned, where it's running like a finely tuned machine. And if you're there, it's making money. If you're not there, it's making money, but it's making money.
So let's actually talk about that when you're surrounding yourself with the talent and the people that are going to help your business grow. That's another mistake that I see often, which is the owner wants to be seen as the most competent person at the company, which means
Right.
they surround themselves with yes people instead of people that challenge them and people that can actually have the right tools to grow the company. So one story that I really like is, and I'm not saying this is for everyone, but there's obviously the biggest streaming platform in the world is, when they built that, they decided we can go out and buy and pay for 50 engineers and they can build this streaming platform while we switch from a rental company to a streaming platform. Or we can go out and find the best engineer in the world, pay them way more money, and have one person do the job at 50 better than anybody else. And they did that. And they took over the market. And now everybody knows Netflix
Yeah.
and everybody's using Netflix.
Yep.
And so is it worth finding people to just fill spots, even if you know you need a salesperson, a
Right.
CFO, a chief operating officer? Is it worth just finding somebody to fill that role, pay a price, and help your bottom line and be more profitable in that year that you hired them? Or is it worth taking on the risk to pay more for somebody who ultimately can exponentially grow your top line? Like, the, it's a decision that the business has to make as far as where are they heading, what do they want to achieve. But ultimately, you want to hire people that are smarter than you.
Yeah, but it's a return on investment.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Why just plug like you said, why just plug a hole? Get the right person doing the job, regardless of where that
Yeah.
puts you. I would love to have a bunch of people under me that knew more than I knew, and I had to do less.
Yeah.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing. It's not an easy thing to accomplish, but there are people out there. I'll tell you a real quick funny story. I have a guy that I know, a client of mine, owns a small construction business. Has a guy working for him for years. This guy worked for him. He's a little kooky. I'm not going to lie. He's done work at my house as well, but he knows everything from top to bottom.
Yeah.
And the client of mine who owns a company has said to me more than once, if he had any desire to, he should be running his own construction company. But instead, he doesn't want to do that. So he pays him more than most would pay him to work with him, because once he puts him on the job, he's like, I never have to answer a question.
Yep.
He knows more than I do.
Yep.
But he's like, which is why I pay him so much. But at the same time, so to me, that's the perfect example of a good return on investment.
Yeah.
In people.
Yeah. And look, that's not just who knows more than you about the job that you're a specialist. It's like, do you want the best accountant? Do you want the best
Right.
CFO? Do you want the best office man? Like, it's just finding people that know more than you do about certain things, that have the vision that you have to get it in the right direction. So part of that's that talent acquisition and figuring out what the right fit is for your company. Yeah, I'd say the other thing that's a big part of it, and I've seen it with my own family having their own businesses, not changing with the times, not paying attention to environmental factors, competition, market factors. You know, that if you owned a restaurant and you're doing delivery and then all of a sudden Uber comes out and you're not on Uber's platform, like how long are you going to last?
Right.
You're limiting your market to people coming. And you know, maybe you're a restaurant that needs to be a sit down and you're high end and you want to just create more demand there and increase the pricing. Like it all depends on what the market around you is doing, and are you staying in a place that's going to continue to drive growth and revenue. And I think a lot of times that doesn't happen. So people stay stagnant. And again, the thing that worked for a company 30 years ago may not work for them today. So, yeah, I don't know what else that are main factors that you've seen. Is there anything else that you can think of?
I mean, to me, it's just really, like I said, it's the reinvesting and putting the time in that's going to help growth rather than the time is of just doing the actual day-to-day menial work, and understanding that people, softwares, systems, tools, whatever it might be, the return on investment, you really got to look at that. And so many companies, and you probably have worked with business owners too, that when you look at what they're spending and you're going through their budget or doing anything, that you start asking questions of why this and why that. And sometimes they're just like, that's just because of what I've always done. You know, it's
Yeah.
what I've always done. So they just keep doing it. So they're not changing. They're not changing with the times like they could be.
Yeah, so let's even back it up there then. If you're thinking about this growth, obviously the place to start is what's my business worth today.
Yeah.
And
What's the valuation of it?
looking at the last 3 years of your tax returns and seeing if there was actually growth or if it was flat. But you know, we can actually help with business valuation, and then from there we can actually look in there and say what parts could you pull to or push on to make this business more valuable that are short term, and then does it make sense to bring in a third party like an outside consultant that can actually dive into this more and direct you in a more professional manner to actually get to the heart of the problem, and not even problem, but the heart of why you're not having the growth that you want. So I'd say first thing is valuation. Second thing is vision. Where do you want this to get to? And then the third thing is, well, in order to get there and where I'm at right now, what are the changes I need to make in order to get to that number? So it's really three. Seems very simple, but obviously when you're started a business or you're running a business, then it can be very difficult because it is your baby, right?
Yep.
It's like you don't want to change things, you don't want to mess anything up, and like we've mentioned, it's a hard thing to give up control when it is your company. So,
Yeah, because most business owners eat, sleep, and breathe that
Yeah.
business
yeah,
24/7.
see it a lot, but yeah. So like I said, I wanted to actually just expand on this a little bit because I've had a few experiences recently where I'm having these conversations with business owners where they're like, "How do I get this valuation up? And what have I been doing right now that's not
Right, they're not getting you there.
allowing me to expand?" So,
Yeah, know where you are first before you know where you're going.
yep. All right. Well, appreciate your time. If any of this stuff resonates with you and you want more information on it, then feel free to reach out to us. Our website again, evolutionfg.com, and you can look up our information on there. So.
Sounds good. Thanks for coming. Hope this helps.